This is just going to be a short video to really outline how you do decimal multiplication, and I'm going to do an area question just to sort of demonstrate the kind of questions that you might need to use decimal multiplication. Okay, so I'm going to start with the area question. Just bear with me, I'm just going to draw a suitable shape. Okay, could be a rectangle, could be a square really. They're the two main ones that you would get this kind of question with. Okay, that's not a perfect square, but if I put some numbers on there, we're going to put 2.5 on here and 2.5 on here. This question over here, what am I going to put on there? I'm going to put a 3. I know this isn't really to scale, they're just any old numbers really. Okay, so to work out the area of either of these shapes, the method is exactly the same, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a multiplication of the length and the width. Obviously with a square the length and the width are the same. So this one on the left we need to do 3 times 2.8, okay, and this one on the right we need to do 2.5 times 2.5. So in terms of discussing area, at least on basic terms, notice I haven't put any units in here. I probably ought to actually. I will put just centimetres on all of these. Okay, but when I do the calculations we'll talk about the units a little bit more in a second. Okay, so really in terms of the area, simple shapes like this, it's just length times width. Okay, once we've written out the multiplications we can pretty much get rid of those and focus on doing the numbers. Okay, now obviously if we had a calculator to hand we can just shove this in the calculator. But this video is aimed at the QTS Numeracy Skills Test. These are the kind of questions that you may get in the mental maths section. So you've got 18 seconds to answer these questions and you've got to do it without a calculator. So the technique, the one on the left is slightly easier. The technique is to take the decimals out. Okay, so we create just a normal long multiplication. Okay, 3 times 8 is 4, carry 2, 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 2 is 84. Now in terms of getting the decimal in the right place, okay, what we do is we go back and look at the original number was 2.8, but we used 28. So what we did is we moved this decimal point 1 to the right. Okay, we used a number that is 10 times bigger. So what we've got to do is we've got to take this decimal point here and move it back into here. In other words, we moved it 1 to the right, so we we take it back 1 to the left to sort of counteract that. Okay, so the correct answer to this one is 8.4. In terms of units, to be honest, this video isn't really aimed at area and units, it's more the decimal multiplication, but it would be centimetres squared. Okay, that is a unit of area. Okay, so let's have a look at the one on the right. Okay, well we do the same thing. We take the decimal point out. Okay, but as you can see it does create a more difficult multiplication, and particularly in the mental maths section of the QTS, really doing 2-digit times 2-digit can be quite time consuming. It is well worth you practicing it though, because if you can do a 2-digit times a 2-digit quickly, then most of what you're going to get in QTS should be easy. Okay, so 5 times 5 is 25, so there's my 5, carry my 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 is 12. So that's the first line. I've basically done 5 lots of 25. Now, standard kind of long multiplication, I need to put a 0 in here because this 2 that I'm going to use isn't really a 2, it's a 20. You can treat it as a 2 as long as you put that 0 in. Okay, so now I just carry on. It's pretty obvious that 2 times 25 is 50. Okay, so I'm going to get a 50 in there, and then you add these up. It's important that I don't use this number. That was my carryover. My method has always been, I've always been taught from a young age to write my carryovers quite small, so that when I'm adding these numbers up I won't get muddled up. You do need little techniques like that to avoid mistakes. Okay, so 25 times 25 is 625, but of course the question wasn't 25 times 25. We've got to adjust. So this time we had to adjust both numbers. We had to move the decimal place 1 to the right in one number and another 1 to the right in the second number. That's a total of 2, so I move the decimal point back 2 places. So the correct answer is 6.25 centimeters squared. If you continually get answers like 62.5 is probably one of the most common wrong answers here. Just try and put a bit of common sense onto your answer. If you've got a square that's 2.5 times 2.5, it's a smaller square than a square that is 3 times 3. And 3 times 3 is 9, so we need an answer that is smaller than 9. So you can always put a sense check onto your answers. Okay, hopefully that helps you for your decimal multiplication and for these area questions in QTS. Okay, I've got lots more videos on my website, and that will be in the links underneath. Thanks very much.